Hey guys, it's Nicholas Armistead with the Broker LLC. As always, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Foundation First podcast, where we're always building the foundation for you to make sure that you can achieve home ownership. So, in our one of our previous episodes, we actually had a Q&A session to where we actually compiled some questions from ChatGPT. And asked what were some of the most common first-time homebuyer questions that wanted to be answered. So we got a lot of good feedback from that one. So we wanted to do a part 2 of that today. So of course, the man behind the camera, Mr. Jesse. So Mr. Jesse will actually be asking me the questions and I'll be answering them. So man, let's get started.
Sounds good to me. All right, so the first one for this week: what are closing costs, and who's responsible for paying them?
What are closing costs and who are responsible? So closing costs, in a Cliff Notes version, closing costs are all of the costs that are associated with closing the loan or the transaction. Um, a lot of that goes into prepaid interest, property taxes, paying the attorney to close the transaction. If there's a loan officer involved, paying the loan officer, and there are a lot of other fees and that are associated with it. Now, by default, in our contract in Lee County, it states that the buyer is responsible for closing costs. But of course, it's a real estate transaction, so anything is negotiable. So you can actually negotiate to ask for the seller to pay for your closing costs. They can pay for some or even all of your closing costs. Now, but not to confuse that with a down payment. A down payment, a seller cannot help you with the down payment. You're totally responsible for your down payment if you have a down payment. But a seller can pay for all of your closing costs. And I'm probably some of you guys are thinking like, oh, light bulb. I can have no down payment and the seller pay all of my closing costs? Yes, you can. So we've actually had some situations to where we've had clients, they've had to pay little to probably no money out of pocket at the closing table. That's not everybody's situation, but it is possible.
That's good. How long does it usually take from signing a contract to closing on a home in Alabama?
On average, it will take about 30 days. It takes about 30 days to get the loan process going, do everything. It takes about 30 days. Yes, you can close sooner than that. I mean, actually had some loan offers that have closed loans in 20 days, 21 days. But also, of course, if you're buying new construction and the house is not complete, it could take up to 6 months to a year. It just really all depends. But on average, it's about 30 days. Now, if you're paying cash, with a cash transaction, you can close it as early as 7 days. So it just really all depends on what type of financing that you're using to purchase the home, and also if you're buying a resale or if you're buying a new construction, and if you are buying a new construction, how far along in the process is the construction is going to be complete.
So you spoke on this a little bit last episode, but just a question about it. What does it mean that Alabama is a buyer beware state for home buyers?
hmm So what that means is, um, sellers in the state of Alabama do not have to disclose anything about their property. It is the buyer's responsibility. It is a buyer's responsibility to hire a professional or do a proper inspection to find if there's anything that's wrong with the property. Now, I'm not saying that sellers won't tell you anything, but they're not required to. So that's what it means when it says a buyer beware state, to where a buyer is responsible for having their own home inspection, having their own proper inspections to make sure that the property is to the standards that they want it.
What issues should a home inspection in Alabama pay special attention to?
What issues
So,
should
like for example, like termites or the foundations, flooring, different things like that.
Okay, so I'll answer your question this way. Um, if you're buying a house and you hire a professional home inspector to inspect the property, my thing is if there's anything that's not to code, if there's anything that's really concerning, he will notate the severity of the concern it is. So if he feel like there's something that's a safety issue, there's something that's a hazardous issue, or something that needs immediate attention, he's going to notate that on the report. So if you have on your home inspection report, there's a crack in the floor, there's a cracked tile. He may say, hey, it may be fall under the cosmetic of, hey, it's cosmetic. Or if he sees a crack in the garage in the foundation, he says it's 2 inches thick and that it needs immediate attention. He may actually recommend that you get uh, an engineer to go out and do further evaluation. So if there's anything that's out of the scope of his knowledge, or he feel like there's a major concern, he or she, the home inspector, will recommend that you get a professional in that particular area to actually look at it in further detail to make sure that there's nothing wrong.
And this is kind of an add-on to the last question.
Mm-hmm.
Is a termite or pest inspection necessary when buying a home in Alabama?
Yes, actually, I have to double check, but if I'm not mistaken, it's required. So in the state of Alabama, the seller has to provide a what they call a wood infestation report. That's what it's called. They actually have to provide a woods infestation report to the buyer 30 days prior to closing. And so let me explain that to you. Let's just say you're buying a house, you're scheduled to close on it next week, and the seller say, hey, I got a wood infestation report done 3 months ago, I don't have to buy another one. Technically, yes, you do, because the contract reads that it has to be done within 30 days of closing. So if it was done 3 months ago, it wasn't done within that 30-day window. Oh, also, just to caveat on that, when they do the wood infestation report, if there's anything that's found, they find anything, the seller will need to correct that, will move forward. If there's anything that needs to be treated or anything, they will need to treat it.
What extra home ownership costs should I budget for beyond my mortgage?
Hmm. Like once you're in the home.
So, like example, property taxes, insurance, HOA, maintenance.
Okay, so depending on how you set it up, majority of people set it up to where property taxes are already included in your mortgage. So your mortgage consists of your principal and interest, property taxes, and homeowners insurance. So typically most people, unless they want to do it separate, they already include that within their mortgage. So it's already, they don't have to worry about, hey, I need to set this aside by the end of the year. So um one thing is just HOA. And my thing is also very smart to talk to anyone in the neighborhood, or anyone if it's a new construction neighborhood, if they have any plans for any future amenities. Because my thing is, if you're in a neighborhood that's in the first phase, and if they have future amenities, they may actually go up on their HOA dues. So that's a good question to ask on the front end to see, hey, or is the neighborhood planning on getting any extra amenities in the near future? And if so, do you have an idea what that may cost HOA dues? Because we have seen some neighborhoods that went up significantly in HOA dues because they've added more amenities. Um, Another thing to budget for is, I will budget for always having a home warranty on file, a 1 year home warranty. Uh, Depending on what type of home warranty that you may want to have each year to keep it up, I mean, they can range anywhere from $400 to $800 a year, and that could save you tons of money down the road versus you actually doing the repairs yourself. You can actually call the home warranty people, and if it's covered, they can take care of that for you. Um, mm, of course, I always tell people to set aside a nice little repair fund, a nest egg. It can be big or it can be small, but I mean, it's a house. It's like anything else. It's just like a car. Things are going to happen. Things are going to break. Nothing's perfect. So I always have some money set aside for minor repairs when things need to get done. So those are some things I would say budget for. But also, it all depends on if you're buying a single family home, or if you're buying, uh, a town home or a condo. A lot of those repairs on the exterior and landscaping and things like that, they're actually included in the HOA. So it just really all depends.
So, for those, maybe coming out of like college or people who never bought a home. Can you expand a little bit more on what is HOA?
HOA stands for Homeowners Association. Um, in the grand scheme of things, I would say HOA is literally it's an association that kind of protects the community, protects the integrity of the community. A lot of people don't like HOAs. Some people love HOAs. It just all depends on people preference. But my thing is the one benefit of a HOA. Yes, there may be rules, there are regulations. Some are more strict than others. But the one thing about HOAs is they actually protect your investment. What I mean by that is if you're in an HOA community, if you're in an HOA community, and let's say your neighbor wants to, paint the house hot pink and want to fix on 50, 60 cars in their driveway and have cars in their back in their backyard, and you're going to get ready to sell your home, that might not be appealing to the next buyer. But with the HOA in place, it protects you from that, so it kind of protects helps you protect your investment.
How can I avoid overextending my budget or spending more than I can truly afford on my home?
I would say the best thing to do is when you talk to your lender, when you talk to your lender, get a pre-approval and a purchase amount based off what your monthly what you want your monthly budget to be. I'll give you a prime example. Um, if you say, "Hey Nick, I don't want to spend any more than $2,000 a month on my mortgage, payment," my thing is tell your mortgage lender, say, "Hey, my budget is 200,000. What can I buy for 200,000 if you based off my scenario?" And they'll give you an actual purchase price. Stay within that purchase price range, because my thing is that lender, you may actually qualify for a whole lot more. You may qualify for, let's say, a $600,000 loan, but that mortgage payment might be $4,500 a month. My thing is, so don't go shopping based off the price of the home. Go shopping price off the budget of what you want to do monthly.
Is it is it risky to waive a home inspection or buy a house as is to make my offer more competitive?
That's definitely a risk. Yes, most definitely a risk. Um, I always encourage all my clients to get a home inspection no matter what, because yes, you don't have to waive a home inspection to buy a home as is. Because my thing is, yes, you might be buying a home as is, but but my thing is, don't you want to see what you're buying before you buy it? Because my thing is, let's just say there is a multiple offer situation or whatever that may be. Let's say you do get the home, but what if that home costs you more than what you paid for it? So was it a good buy, or was actually protecting yourself on the front end to eliminate risk a better alternative than actually buying the home? So I always suggest always get a home inspection. And my thing is, because you want to know what you're buying. My thing is, if you're buying it for investment purposes anyway, because it sounds like if you're buying it as is and you want to get it for the best price and things like that, you might be buying it from an investment purpose. You need to protect your investment, and it's not a smart investment to do without a home inspection, in my opinion.
What is the Alabama First Time and Second Chance Home Buyer Saving Account, and how does it work?
That's a question you would need to ask your mortgage lender.
So I think that pretty much covers a lot of the things that's on the list. Is there anything off the top of your head or anything that you want to share experience wise? Maybe something that you dealt with a client that you feel like everybody should know. Some questions they may have had or some issues they ran into, that you like, this is a good lesson for other people to
Mm-hmm.
move
Mm-hmm.
forward.
Mm, um, First thing I would say is don't assume. Don't assume anything. You probably heard me say it a million times. You probably gonna hear me say it 3 more million times if you're watching this podcast. If you're interested in buying a home, go talk to a mortgage lender and a realtor first, because you never know. Like you don't truly know if you qualify or not. You don't know where you truly stand until you talk to them. If you don't talk to them, you're just guessing. I will give you an example. This is probably one of my favorite stories to tell when it comes to first time home buyers. So back in 2019, I used to my old office used to be in Auburn. I used to back next to All In CrossFit. If you're familiar with the area, you know All In CrossFit is right next to Keller Williams when I was with Keller Williams. So I was coming out the office one day, and for some of you may know, I'm in a fraternity. I'm an alpha, and I saw a guy pull up in the alpha with an alpha tag. I went and spoke to him. Hey man, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Woo woo. You know, my name is Nick. Where you from? And come to find out, he had just moved here. He had just moved here from college. He was a young guy, fresh out of college, and we got to talking. I was like, "Hey man, you ever thought about buying a house?" He was like, "Nah, man. You know, I can't afford to buy a house. You know, I just got out of college. You know, I got a good job, but I just got out of college. I can't afford to buy a house." I was like, "How do you know you can't afford to buy a house?" He's like, "Man, I just know I can't find." I was like, "Man, let's sit down and talk, man. Come sit down and talk." What come to find out, based off what he was renting, buying a house was cheaper monthly. But he said, "Man, yeah, I understand that, but man, I ain't got no money to put down. Like, I ain't got no money saved up." I was like, "Well, let's look at some other options." Fast forward, we were able to get him in a program, a first time home buyer program that didn't require a down payment. So we actually wound up putting an offer on a house. He got the home, and it was a very unique situation. And the 2 days before closing, we actually couldn't close on the house because the sellers actually had a lien on the house that we weren't aware of, and the buyer actually had already ended their lease. So they had already committed to moving to this house, and they had already ended their lease, and we were in the pickle. Long story short, I was able to negotiate to the where the buyer could actually stay in the home until they got done getting everything taken care of. So he actually stayed in that home, I want to say from, I think it was August of 19 to July of 2020, rent free. Because they took care of all the expenses. That was part of the negotiation. They took care of all the expenses. He was there rent free, and he finally closed on the home. This is where it gets good. He closed on the home in July of 2020. He finally closed on the home in July 2020. So he had 1 year of no rent paid. So he was able to save all that money he was paying for rent all that time. And then 2 days after he closed, he got a promotion at his job. He had to leave. Most people are like, dang, he bought a house, he had to leave. Well, hear me out. So he had to wind up selling his house. He had to wind up selling a house a month after he actually closed on the house, even though he was being in it. The reason that this was a good situation was because he actually bought the house on the agreed price in 2019, which was $334,000. In 2020, that house was 380, worth 380,000. So he literally, physically, like legitimately, stayed in the house for a month after he bought it and sold it, and he made $40,000 off the house. But keep in mind, a year and a half prior, he couldn't afford a house. He didn't think he could get in the house. To fast forward to where he was actually getting into the house, save money. He got a promotion for his job, so he had to move to a neighboring city, and he made $40,000. And in that neighboring city, the housing price was a whole lot more expensive, but he was able to use that $40,000 as a down payment for his next house. So that's one of my favorite stories I like to tell. Just because by him just going through the steps and just okay, let me see where I'm at. I know I said, but let me I hear you out. Let me see where I'm at. He was actually able to actually not only buy his first house, but sell it, make profit off of it, and buy another house in a more expensive city. And I think he sold that house now and moved to another city. So without actually buying that first house, he wouldn't have been able to get the house that he got now. So that's what I mean. That's one thing I always say, man. Just man, don't assume. Talk to someone and get clarification, get clarity around the situation. Because clarity is power. So, with that being said, man, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys have any questions, concerns, want to reach out, links in the info, email me, reach out to me on our website. And man, until next time, we'll see y'all next time. Take care. Peace.